Hello there, good morning and welcome to ABC News GH. This is ABC Headlines. I am Eric Chinibwa Melo. Coming up in the headlines, the first set of ministerial appointments by President John Mahama has sparked public discussion, with the minority calling for immediate release of all ministers, but experts have hailed the president for his decision to release them in bed. Also, the Minister Designate for Energy, John Jinapor, has directed the Electricity Company of Ghana to halt all payments for supplies. We're settled for the details of these and more coming up shortly. Do stay. We're live on your screens as well as on YouTube, ABC News GH. Do you want to connect with us onto a first story? John Jinapor, the Minister Designate for Energy, has ordered the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, to immediately suspend all payments for supplies as part of effort to tackle inefficiencies and stabilize the power sector. Mr. Jinapor issued a stern warning to ECG staff, particularly within the Finance Directorate, stating that serious consequences would follow if the directive is ignored. Jinapor revealed that ECG has been facing significant revenue losses, and he highlighted the challenges of managing over 70 account within the company, which has made effective monitoring and control difficult. The minister-designate pledged to implement comprehensive reforms aimed at streamlining ECG's operations and improving its overall efficiency to better serve the public and stabilize the power sector, quoting. He said the challenge of money emanates from inefficiencies because if ECG losses over 40% of its power generated, no matter what you do, you cannot find a solution. Other countries are doing just about 2 to 4% losses. So with this $100 worth of power you buy and sell, you collect only 60%. And even with that, there are so many contracts, quality assurance, and IT provisions and others. They are also deducting monies at the source. And so I have told the ECG and his also an instruction from the Chief of Staff, so cease all payment for supplies, and I mean it, unquote. Again, he continues by saying that I have told them that if anybody is listening and within the ECG, whether the Finance Directorate, this was an instruction we gave them yesterday, the minister said. And in some more energy news, President John Dramani Mahama has assured Ghanaians of his government's unwavering commitment to resolving the energy crisis and preventing a return to the era of doom. So, speaking at the National Convention of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Missions Ghana on Thursday, January 9, President Mahama acknowledged the critical challenges facing the country, particularly in the energy sector. He assured citizens that his administration is fully committed to addressing these issues head-on, and the president highlighted the looming threat of power outage due to inefficient fuel supplies for power generation. However, he urged Ghanaians to remain hopeful and confident in his government's ability to find sustainable solutions.
Forestall blackouts because of the loss of almost 2,000 megawatts of power, we have to make provision for fuel. And this is light crude oil, heavy fuel oil, and distillate fuel. Unfortunately, enough provision was not made for this eventuality. When the fuel arrives, it takes time to import it, 3 weeks to place an order and get it delivered. And when it arrives, you have to treat the fuel for another week and a half to make it ready for use in the generating plants. And so there's a threat of power outages. But my brothers and sisters, don't despair. Like I said, you elected us to solve the problems, not to put the blame on anybody else or to shoulder you with those problems. And so yesterday I called a meeting of all the stakeholders in the electricity value chain. And they have been sitting since yesterday to today to come out with innovative solutions so that we're able to keep the lights on. And so I can assure you with some of the ideas they've come up with, we would make sure that your lights stay on and that we do not have doomsor, as you popularly call it.
And in more energy stories, Executive Director of the Institute of Energy Security, Nana Moise VII, has stated that the new government's attempt to renegotiate with the United States for some $190 million and that the Millennium Challenge Corporation, MCC, will not be sufficient to fully address issues in the energy sector. Speaking on ABC Prime News, Nana Moise lauded the attempt of the government to secure such funds, but urged that they need to target substantial investment in the sector to be able to pay off the debt in the energy sector and improve distribution challenges. According to him, investment in the sector around $500 million could prove more useful in Ghana's current circumstances.
Over the last 8 years, and so it means that it's been more weakened than it used to be. And when you have a very weak grade, it means that it can't disappoint you at every point in time, and that it also increases your technical losses because of the leakages of power and all that. Yes, we'll need money to invest in this space. I am not sure whether this time the 190 million can really meet expectation, because it's been some 5 or 6 years now, and the exchange rates has really been bad against us. Something close 500 million, I'm sure we'll be able to do enough. But we start from somewhere and we move to a higher expectation. However, I would say that whether it is 200 million or 500 million, we still need investment in the grid, and a substantial one, of course. So an attempt to bring back to get back that Millennium Challenge account support is a good step. But I think that we should be aiming for, we should be aiming higher, because this time around it's going to cost us more than we expected when the PDS and ECG concessionary agreements were.
From energy, let's do straight to Parliament, and the Minority Leader Alexander Fenyumarkin has criticized the government for releasing key announcements to the press before informing Parliament. This follows Mahama's recent ministerial appointment, where Dr. Kezia Lotto-Forson has been appointed Finance Minister Designate, and Dr. Dominic Ayine and John Jinapor appointed as Attorney General and Minister of Justice Designate and Energy Minister Designate, respectively. Speaking on the floor of Parliament, the Minority Leader bemoaned the lack of prior acknowledgement to the House before the announcement was made in the media. According to him, this undermines the integrity of the House and goes against the Speaker's previous assessment of the same situation in the 8th Parliament. He called on the new government to do better and communicate the appointment to the House before announcing it.
In the 8th Parliament, under President Akufo-Addo, Right Honorable Speaker made an observation, very profound, that matters Right Honorable Speaker observed that communications to the House must first be known to the House before it gets into the media. This House should not be a secondary recipient of that which is its bona fide. I do not appreciate the fact that a statement will be issued when Parliament has not already received the communication. Parliament should be the first to receive the communication before it gets out into the media. And that was the position taken by Right Honorable Speaker. So I would want to draw attention of the executive to this matter, especially when the acting spokesperson of the executive is one of our own, my own respected colleague, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, very, very resilient guy. He doesn't fall easily. He knows his stuff, and he knows what is about when he's doing his politics. I respect.
While still in Parliament, the Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin has expressed dissatisfaction with what he described as a thought approach to ministerial appointments by President John Dramani Mahama. His remarks came after the Speaker of Parliament announced the President's nomination of 3 minister designates for vetting by the Appointment Committee. On Thursday, January 9, President Mahama nominated Dr. Kezia Lotto-Forson as Finance Minister Designate, John Abdullahi Jinapor as Energy Minister Designate, and Dominic Ayine as Attorney General and Minister of Justice Designate. Addressing Parliament, Afenyo-Markin argued that the government's commitment to delivering a 24-hour economy should have a comprehensive list of ministerial appointments ready rather than making piecemeal nominations.
The names were read out by Mr. Speaker. He read out only 3 names. The Finance Minister Designate, the Energy Minister Designate, and the Attorney General and Minister of Justice Designate. Mr. Speaker, this thought appointment is unacceptable. Mr. Speaker, this is a government that promised a 24-hour economy. In opposition, they told us that they were ready for government. Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, indulge me.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Yes, indulge me.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Is that how you are starting it?
Please.
Let me finish. Let me.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Yes.
Meanwhile, governance expert Dr. Frederick Oduro has stated that the announcement of appointment of 3 ministers designated for finance, justice and energy ministers made by President John Dramani Mahama on 9th January 2025 is the quickest and earliest ministerial appointment ever made by the President in the Fourth Republic. His comment followed the description of the appointment by Minority Leader and MP for Ifutu constituency, Afenyo-Markin, as thought, implying the President is making a piecemeal appointment instead of releasing the full list of ministerial appointment. Dr. Frederick Oduro, speaking on ABC Prime News, noted that the President is well within time to make subsequent appointments, and the initial 3 reflect the urgency of those ministers needed to cater for sectoral issues.
On the 7th. This is exactly 48 hours or so after the inauguration. For me, this is one of the quickest announcements ever made by any president. And the fact that 3 names have come also goes to underline the fact that, the economy, Minister of Finance, Economic Planning, or Minister of Finance, for that matter. The economy is a critical sector. It's going to underpin virtually everything any government will do. Then you look at the energy. The reported looming energy crisis would call for an immediate appointment of a minister for energy to tackle the announced looming crisis in the energy sector. Then you look at the fact that even if you look at the Constitution with the composition of the cabinet, you reckon that the only ministry that is specifically mentioned, or the only position that is specifically mentioned in the Constitution, is the Attorney General. So the position of an Attorney General is a key and fundamental position that every president is bound to.
Additionally, Dr. Frederick Oduro also stated that President John Dramani Mahama did not err by announcing ministerial appointment to the public before informing Parliament. According to him, the objection raised by Minority Leader Afenyo-Markin that Parliament should have been informed of the appointment before it announced has no standing. He argues that the President can decide on whatever formula he wants to use to make his appointment.
The President is to forward it to the Speaker of Parliament, and then the Parliamentary Committee will have to do it. So the Appointments Committee will have to do their work on these individuals. Now, if the president chooses to announce what he's going to send to the to Parliament, I mean, it doesn't hurt anyone. If he chooses to send it to Parliament before the announcement comes, it cannot hurt anyone. Forgive me. So, in principle, I don't see where the president could have erred.
Away from Ghana's new government could seek extra funding from the International Monetary Fund during its current 3-year program with the lender in order to cushion the economy. Finance Minister designate Kaiser Dr. Forson said on Thursday. President John Dramani Mahama, who was sworn into office this week after beating the ruling party candidate in December's election, picked the former minority leader in parliament to serve in the key post of finance minister. Quoted, "We are committed to work with the IMF, but we also want to ensure that we can raise financing addition finance working with IMF and other domestic international partners." Mr. Forson told reporters ahead of a meeting with an IMF team that the current situation of visiting Accra and the reliance on treasury bills and others has not been very helpful, he said. He also served as the deputy finance minister before, and the IMF did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Mr. Forson, a 46-year-old chartered accountant who holds a master's degree in taxation from Oxford and a doctorate in finance from a local university, said the new administration would also cut public spending to help lower inflation further. Away from that, let's do matters of education. And President John Dramani Mahama has announced plans to establish a planning committee for a national education review conference, which aims to address challenges and reform Ghana's education system. The proposed National Education Review Conference will examine the education system from kindergarten through tertiary, including technical and vocational education. Speaking at the National Convention of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Missions Ghana at Winneba in the Central Region, Mr. Mahama noted that the conference will identify obstacles to quality education at each levels and generate accountable recommendations to address them. Additionally, Mr. Mahama emphasized the need for a targeted investigation to ensure equitable and quality learning opportunities for all.
Progress. And to this end, as promised, while strengthening basic education, we will sustain and enhance the free SHS policy so that we gain the benefits that it is intended to bestow. We will address challenges such as overcrowding to ensure quality education at all levels. Our plans also include free tuition for first-year students entering public tertiary institutions, the completion of abandoned e-blocks, and investments to provide equitable learning opportunities nationwide and across the whole education value chain. These initiatives will empower our youth with the skills needed to excel in a rapidly changing world. We shall emphasize technical vocational education and training so that we can produce the skilled manpower that is needed for business and industry. I'm going to set up a planning committee to start working on the National Education Review Conference.
You're still watching ABC News. This is ABC Headlines. Let's do some more stories. And President John Dramani Mahama has reaffirmed his government's dedication to improving Ghana's justice system to ensure fairness, impartiality and equitability for all. Now speaking at the 92nd Jalis Salana of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Missions Ghana at Gomoa Pomazi in the Winneba in the Central region, he emphasized that central role of justice in national development and unveiled his plans to establish a committee to organize a national constitutional review validation conference to carry out major reforms with the 1992 Constitution. The president pledged that his administration would work to strengthen and address systemic inequality in the justice system. He assured Ghanaians that every citizen, regardless of status or background, will be treated with dignity and fairness under the law.
It's a moral compass that must guide our every decision, every law, and every interaction in our nation. To this end, the new NDC administration is resolutely committed to strengthening our justice system to ensure judicial independence and address the systemic inequalities that currently exist. I can assure you that this administration will work tirelessly to ensure that every Ghanaian, regardless of your status or background, is treated with dignity and afforded equal protection under the law. Amir, Chairman, my brothers and sisters, to achieve this objective of justice.
Away from that, let's do some election stories. In the minority caucus in Ghana's Ninth Parliament has raised alarm over what it describes as a surge in violence, thuggery and intimidation following a recent election. At a press conference held on Thursday, January 9 at Parliament House in Accra, the caucus condemned the alleged actions of individuals purported to be affiliated with the National Democratic Congress (NDC), accusing the party's leadership of sponsoring these activities. Deputy Minority Leader Patricia Appiah-James, who addressed the parliamentary press corps, cited numerous incidents of violence on election day, including physical assault on voters, attempts to disrupt the electoral process, and harassment of election officials. She highlighted specific cases such as alleged arson attacks on Electoral Commission officers in Damangum and Tepa, and the destruction of electoral materials at the Ayantoni District Electoral Office.
Not just those who support his party, the NDC, it is deeply disheartening that in the face of these troubling developments, the president has remained largely silent since taking office. While he had made a general call for calm as president-elect, this is not enough. The president must demonstrate leadership by condemning these acts unequivocally and directing law enforcement agencies to act decisively. The events surrounding the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, where a statue was vandalized on the day of the president's inauguration, remain unresolved. The incidents in Koforidia, Tema, and other parts of the country highlight a pattern of inactions and silence from the highest.
And that's all for the bulletin this morning here on ABC Headlines. For more news, do want to log on to our website, www.abcnewsgh.com, as well as visit our YouTube platform for more content. I am Eric Chinibuamelo. Do want to stay for the morning show. ABC in the Morning continues shortly after this break.